Welcome everyone to Moonlight Ponderings. I'm Ronnie Moonborn.
And I'm Severine Nocturne.
And today we're talking with the lovely number 89.
And we're talking about, we're sort of having, like, I would guess, an open discussion.
About the differences of our religions?
Yes. She's coming from the Christian side.
And as you guys know, we are very, like, you're free to worship whoever you want to worship. And I'm a big believer in coexisting. I think Severine's a big believer in coexisting.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna kind of talk about where we're coming from at different sides, and then we're gonna ask questions for each other. So we're gonna start with the questions to number 89. So number 89, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm 89. That's all I got for you.
Thank you, number 89. Most informative.
Ronnie's been calling her a Christian operative. Okay, so, can we talk a little bit about maybe your background in the Christian faith? Like, do you have a specific denomination you're under or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, I'll just say I'm not denominational. I mean, I've seen multiple sides. I've seen, the non-denomination. I've seen the Baptist, the Methodist, First Assemblies, all those. I mean, it is what it is. I really don't claim a denomination. I never really have. And I mean, if you claim to be Baptist, whatever. Cause, as long as, we're all in agreement, and, believe the same thing, I really don't care. I mean, so I don't claim him, but, growing up, I was like kind of raised halfway non-denominational and halfway Baptist, so those are the two sides I've seen the most often, if that answers your question.
Yeah. So, have you been raised Christian your whole life, or is this something you felt drawn to?
No, like, since I was born, pretty much.
I can't say that. My mom was raised Christian, holiness actually, and she married my dad, and I guess they moved up north, and they just didn't practice. So every Easter we'd come down, and I'd hear about this person named Jesus who was a big deal apparently. And I was little, to be fair, so like Easter was about the candy for me.
Gotcha.
And so I never really knew who Jesus was until we moved back down here permanently in like 98, and my mom actually started really going to church.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned a little bit more about what Christianity was. And at the time, I was very interested, but as our viewers know, that is not the case anymore. But I guess my other question would be, it went away. I'll come back to it. Do you have any other questions? It just left.
Okay.
What is your perspective on other religions?
Oh boy.
She went for the hard hitter right there.
No, right? Okay. When you say perspective, are you asking me just as a person or as a Christian? Because I can give you both sides.
Give me both sides.
Okay. As a Christian, I have to, go with the quote-unquote normal Christian view, if you will, that, there is no other God but God, and Jesus is the only way to heaven, and whatnot, and all the other religions are false. If I have to go with myself, even though I'm not saying I don't believe those things, but as far as how I see others, I mean, I believe what the word says, but at the same time, I'm not one of those that, like, me that you're whatever religion you claim to be or whatever, you know, the same way that I would be against like racism, I'm still gonna be against what's the proper word for that? Religious extremists, I guess, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I really don't. I'm not on the side of, never have been on the side of, you know, tearing other people down because they believe something different. Because at the end of the day, I still see you as a person. And, like Ronnie, you said something about coexisting. I mean, that's how we're supposed to be. So, you know, the extremists on any side, you know, I don't agree with. I see you as a person that at the end of the day, we all live in, you know, similar lives, and to go back to Christianity, we all need a savior. So, you know, I'm not the condemning or condescending type, if that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that because I 100% agree with you. We all need to coexist. Mm-hmm. And because I feel like, first of all, if you want to show someone that if your belief is Jesus is the only way, instead of condemning someone for their beliefs, you should be more appreciative and be like, well, it's nice that you believe that because my religion teaches you that, you know, I need to love you. And it's sort of like you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar type of deal.
I watched an interesting video. There is a girl that I went to school with, and she is like a beauty blogger on YouTube, and she's Christian. And she talked about what she would do if her kids ever came out and said that they weren't. And she said, you know, I'm not kicking my kids out of the house or any of that, like, you know, some people say they would do, or condemning my kid. I'm going to tell them that I love them and show them what Jesus is about, because that's how you win them back, and that's how you win them over. And I thought that was very beautifully put. I mean,
I truly do believe that if you consider yourself a true Christian, then of course, yes, Jesus is the only way.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what you're taught. That is like the core belief of Christianity. And so I don't disrespect someone by going, you're wrong. I would never tell someone their religion is wrong. I would just say to myself, that's not for me. Because at the end of the day, if that's what gives you fulfillment, then I'm happy for you. Unless your religion is racism in general, because sometimes I believe that is turned into a religion.
Yeah.
But, then I'm against it, of course. But...
Alright, your turn. We've asked you tough questions.
Okay. Well, I guess question for both of you. What exactly, should just be simple. What do y'all believe?
Okay.
What do y'all believe, and why do you believe it there?
I'll let you go first.
So, I consider myself an eclectic pagan, and essentially what that means to me, or what it means generally is, and there's no one eclectic pagan that's going to tell you the exact same thing. The whole idea is that it's sort of, I've called it on the channel before, pagan collaging. You take things that you like from different practices and put them together. As far as deep down what I believe about like God and things like that is that I do believe there is one, and I do believe that he, or I mean I guess she for some people, shows as you need it in your life. Like I think that, you know, it's kind of like not everyone likes, I was about to say cheese, and I feel bad for people that don't like cheese, but I guess cheese. Not everybody likes cheese. not everybody likes asparagus. That's probably a better analogy, you know. I think that, like, it's kind of just where you feel led to and what you feel led to. As far as things I actually incorporate, I'm really big into using crystals. There's a lot of science in that, though, because they're actually used in medicine and things like that. And so I use a lot of crystals, and what I do, you know, like I set up, basically it's called a crystal grid, and I don't know if you've ever seen one, but it's basically you line the crystals up to kind of make this geometric shape, and the idea is that you're imagining, I say imagining because that's really the best way I could think to explain it. They call it visualizing in paganism. You're imagining that the energy is being used for something specific, like healing a sickness or
bringing prosperity into your life.
Bringing prosperity into your life, things like that. So those are really big in my practice, and I mean, what I like about it is that it doesn't have to be organized. Like, I don't feel obligated to do it every single day or anything like that. I do it when I feel led to do it and when I feel called to do it.
And for me, I would agree with, like, as far as the God aspect, I consider, like, there's this spirit called the All Spirit, and that's at least my title for this entity. And that would be like God, I guess you could say. And the All Spirit would take different aspects. So let's say, like, if I were to do a spell that revolved around, like, love, then maybe Aphrodite would be the aspect of the All Spirit that I would want to get to know better and work with. Or if there was something, like, for wisdom, just to name another, like, entity worshipped throughout the ages, Athena. I'm very big in Greek mythology. It plays a big part in my practice. But I'm a very herbal person. I believe in herbal remedies. And that's considered witchy somewhat, and really it's kind of just old science.
It is really more of an old science thing, but I will say there's kind of a lot of what you do when you're doing spells is you're sitting there and you're kind of contemplating. It's kind of like being in prayer, like sort of like a meditation when you're doing a spell.
But that's why, and I feel like it's healthy for me to think that, like, there's an all spirit. Because then to me, it's like, I feel like we're all praying to the same entity in a way. Mm-hmm. It's just we might be praying to different aspects of this entity.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, whatever anyone wants to believe, they're welcome to believe it. Because I truly think that if it gives you fulfillment and it makes you happy, then you should be for it. And be all in it, in my opinion.
Belief is powerful. I believe that. I believe that belief is powerful. So did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
So, what are some practices that you do for your faith?
Well, pray. I'll be the first to say, you know, I don't pray like I should, but I pray. Trying to pray more often and more regularly, but I mean, hey, I can only be honest with myself about that. I go to church, probably not as often as I should, as it isn't every Sunday as it used to be. I serve in the church and whatnot. I mean, the only word that throws me off is pray. I mean, I guess that would be a decent word for it. But I don't really think about what I do necessarily. I just kind of do it. Because, I mean, I've been doing it for so long, it's just like, I just do it. I don't really think about, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's more, if anything, just praying and believing what I'm praying about, holding out on faith. Like I said, going to church, I probably don't, in our words, spread the gospel as much as I should. Need to do that more often. But, you know, when I get the opportunity, I definitely take it, as long as I don't freeze up. And I mean, that happens, you know, not every Christian is so eager to share the good news because, you know, we get a little nervous sometimes.
Well, you just never know what the reaction what people are going to give you.
Exactly. And I mean, like, to kind of, sorry about this, but to kind of go back to, you know, what we were talking about, how, you know, if you say this or that, you'll turn people off. I mean, I can definitely understand some reasons why people wouldn't want to be Christians. I mean, you know, I'm able to look at it from the outside in because, I mean, even sometimes myself, I look at some Christians and I'm like, man, seriously, if I weren't, you would not make me want to be one. And I mean, it's sad and it's not great. But you know, hopefully that person or persons are striving to get better to be more Christ-like.
Yeah. I agree with you because I can remember back when I was a practicing Christian, or when I considered myself a practicing Christian, let me rephrase. I remember I went to school and there'd be people standing up there and calling people, telling them they're going to hell for what this and that. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, they're not with us. Please, people who look at Christianity, they're not with us. Like, shh. They are their own branch of special ed Christians, as I like to call them. But that's because I'm shady. I'm shady, okay? No offense at all to anyone. If you're that way, you have a lot of hate in your soul, and I pray for you. But
yeah, I mean, that's not how we're supposed to go about it. And I never understood why people do that. You're not going to win somebody over by doing that. So
I think we all kind of have a natural way that we handle situations, and people handle emotions even differently. Like, I'm mad, and if I'm mad, then I cry. Most people, when they're mad, they yell, or they, you know, they might throw something or whatever. You
slash
know, like
tires.
that's horrible.
I never said I was perfect.
I think some people handle things aggressively, and they probably shouldn't be the people that do public speaking. I feel like there should be kind of a way to figure out, like, hey, they're not tactful enough to do that. Let's not give it to them.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the allures that brought me to my beliefs, is that it's not very mainstream, because I've always felt that, and this is just the churches I went to, this is not condemning Christianity at all as a whole, but the churches I went to, there was always some condemning happening. Like, this, blah, 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 you're going to hell for this. I went to a church where they said Pokemon was the devil at one point.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, okay. I was like, I thought Lucifer was the devil, but I guess this Japanese game is. Okay.
I mean, I never went to a church like that, but I felt disconnected, and I felt like I questioned myself a lot of, like, I couldn't rationalize how there were sections that sort of seemed to teach that, you know, if you're not Christian, you're going to hell. So does that, it seemed like it includes people that wouldn't even know any better. Like, you know, they were raised completely different. And to me, it just didn't seem fair. And so I had a really hard time grasping that. I had a really hard time grasping a lot of concepts. And not to say that, like, maybe I didn't read things correctly whenever, I was reading the Bible and things like that, but that was sort of where I was struggling with that. But I was also, like, really, really into church, like I did drama team, and I was in the youth ministry. I was actually an assistant youth leader at one point. But I struggled a lot with feeling like my church was condemning people, but in a different way. It was more cliquish and more like, oh, well, they're not like us, not in a...
Churches I've been to did a lot of that too. And I hate that because part of me feels like had I been in a healthier environment, I feel like, then I probably wouldn't have had such a tough time with church. That's not to say that that was the only thing. The environment was not it. I went through struggles myself with my sexuality, and every church I went to was preaching against it, and it made me hate myself. And at one point I was just like, I'm tired of hating myself for something I truly can't control. And yes, there are churches that accept gays, but around here, I think there's one. Not a lot of options. I will say. There might be more. I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of research because by that time when I came to terms with my sexuality, I've kind of also came to terms with my belief system also.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, to kind of go back to what Severine was talking about, she was saying, you were saying you felt some type of way because, people were saying, oh, non-believers are going to hell, and you're like, well, you don't know any better. See, the problem with that attitude is those are probably the same churches that aren't trying to do outreach work or anything like that to try to get people saved. So you can't just say, all the non-believers are going to hell. We're not going to try to do anything about it because that's not what Christ came for. He came for us to know him and to try to get others to know him. So they're in the wrong, most definitely. If you're not trying to, get other people to come to Christ, then what are you doing? And I mean, like I said, I don't do it as often as I should, but at the same time, those words don't come out my mouth. It's like you said, it's a tactful way to go about things. And that whole, they're not like us, well, why don't you try to make them to be like you? If you're not, then what are you really saying? So that's my problem with churches that have that cliquish mentality, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, I've found that, not that I've ever been a part of a coven, but I've met covens that are very cliquish also. Like, if you're not in their circle, they almost want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Part of the reason I consider myself eclectic, there are people that will tell you what you're doing is the wrong way to do it, and that you should be doing it this way. There are people that are very much like, oh, it's a god and goddess duality thing, and it's, to me, I don't really see it as that. I see it as what you need and what suits you as an individual.
And for them, I'm like, hey, I don't tell you how to spray your patchouli. Don't tell me how to sprinkle my sage. Just saying.
I feel like that needs
You
to
need
be
to patchouli me alone. I'm just saying.
Alright.
That's gonna be a shirt.
So another question I thought of for you is, so being a Christian, you believe in the concept of heaven, correct?
Yeah.
So what do you imagine heaven is?
Man, honestly, aside from like the basics of what we're taught, I really haven't looked into it too much, into what everything the word says about what heaven is. Other than, Jesus saying, in my Father's house there are many mansions, and, gospel songs saying that the streets are paved with gold and whatnot. Heaven is one thing I try not to speculate too much about, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to know till I get there.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I know it's a better place than Earth, and a way better place than hell. So, and that's just what I'm aiming for. When I was growing up, they would say, heaven is a place where there's no more crying, no more dying, no more pain and whatnot. And I'm just like, it's really just perfection. It's where he dwells, and, I aim to be. Other than that, I don't really speculate on too much, because I feel like if I start to speculate too much on things that I'm only going to have limited knowledge about, it's going to take me away from my focus and my purpose. So I just kind of leave it at that.
I really want to introduce you to like a Jewish person, because the way that you do, like the way that thought process is, I feel like you would have a fun conversation with them.
Why is that?
So, there's one time I went to synagogue and I found out the word Jehovah. Jewish people do not say that word.
Nope.
Because the translation was lost somewhere way back whenever they were making the word or whatever. So we don't know if it's Jehovah or Jehovah. And so the Jewish people fought over it, and it was decided we don't use it. It's not worth fighting over. It's not worth fussing over. Let's not use it. It's lost.
Yeah. If I'm correct, they don't even say Yahweh. They use the YHWH, right?
YHW. There's Yeshua, which would technically be Jesus' name. That's funny because, if you think about the translation, Yeshua is really close to Joshua.
Yes.
And then Abba is one they say a lot. And Adonai.
I'm sitting over here going to hell because y'all are saying these words, and I'm thinking of a word that it sounds like and turning it into something else. Because you said, what was it, Abba?
Abba.
And I thought of, I've been cheated by you, and I think you know it.
Oh, Lord.
So gay. So gay.
Hashem. That's the one. Hashem.
Hashem. Yes, I know that word.
Hashem. Hashem is the one they use. And I've been to a synagogue session before, and I will say, like, the ceremony is very beautiful. There's a lot of thought that goes into things. They're very organized in the way they do things. And I have a lot of respect for them because they have so much dedication. Like, they're very much like, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. But what I really like about them, too, is that they question things. I asked one of my friends, I was like, so what do you do if you're on an island and the only thing you have to eat is pig?
Oh, wow.
You fast.
Nope. You eat it.
Yeah, I guess you fast.
No, you eat it. That's what he said.
Well, if it were me, I would fast because I need to lose weight.
Because so the rule of the Torah is life supersedes everything. So if following the Torah is going to interfere in you being able to survive, then you don't follow it.
I'm so going to hell over here.
So you do everything you can. You see if there's fruit. You see if there's like another animal, but if there's nothing else, if there's no other option. So yeah, that's I really like having conversations. Another one we had, and I think I might have told you about this one. The story of Samson and Delilah. So, Samson, technically, based on the biblical story, he's a Nazarite, and the whole rule with them is they don't drink.
Strike one.
They don't eat from dead things.
Strike two.
And they don't cut their hair.
Strike three.
All of which he was supposed to follow. If he broke any of those rules, he was supposed to lose his strength. So why did the other two happen? But it was the hair.
Because he's Fabio.
Nope. Because the other two were considered accidental, but him telling Delilah about his hair was him putting her before God. Yep.
Shame on y'all.
I can give it that.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, back to the question at hand.
Yeah.
When I asked you about your belief in heaven, I was the same way. Like, I didn't really think about heaven. I was just like, it's the place I'm gonna go to when I die. Like, but now, like, I strongly believe reincarnation. I'm a firm believer in it. And I believe that heaven still is a place that exists, but I feel like your soul has to have all these experiences before it's prepared to go into heaven. Like, you need to experience what it's like to be a poor man who has to, or woman who has to work for everything, earn everything, and just, like, only barely make it or not make it, you know? And then, like, of course, you probably have a life where you are wealthy and things come easy to you. I feel like you need both in order for your soul to be harmonized.
Well, we all know that whoever got Hitler had a very crappy next life.
Well, see, in my mind, and this is just my belief personally, I believe if you were a terrible, terrible human being, like scum of the earth, did a lot of horrible things, you might be in hell. Like, there is a comforting thought that bad people go to hell, and that's sad because you should want everyone to go to heaven. I truly believe that. But at the same time, there's a comforting feeling knowing that Hitler might be in a very bad place right now.
Alright.
And that current elected officials
Wow.
might end up there also unless they change their ways, which would be amazing. But
Well, I think the thing about if you believe in the concept of past lives is that they probably would change. Like, Hitler might have been born in his next life into the life of a cockroach. Like, I mean...
no, he remembers everything. Born a Jewish man. Jewish woman. Trans Jewish woman. Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's more in line with my line of thinking, is that you learn and you evolve and you get better.
And when I say trans, I'm not saying that trans is bad. He had an issue with transgendered people and queer folk. That's why I'm saying that, just so we're clear.
Yeah. I think, for me, I was always really, like, super imaginative and daydreamy anyway, so whenever I imagined heaven, I imagined lots of clouds, but kind of just like an otherworldly, surreal landscape, like castles and things like that in the sky. And
I never thought sky.
I did, but I mean, like...
See, because I'm afraid of heights, so I was like, that would not be my heaven.
Oh, wow.
You would just live in the castle.
No. I thought beautiful, vast hills and valleys and just beautiful.
So Bob Ross made your heaven.
Yes. with happy little trees and their friends. Yes.
But I get what you guys are saying about, like, not wanting to kind of focus on it, because I felt that way I grew up in a church where we were raised about the rapture and everything like that, and then I went and took college courses and found out not all Christians believe that the rapture is still going to happen.
Yeah, not all do, and that shocked me too.
I am not sure, but I don't think my mom believes in the rapture. I can't remember, but I think that she thinks like...
I kind of rationalize similar with like, if I'm right with God, why does it matter if it does or it doesn't? Like,
I think it's supposed to help you promote, like, trying to win more people over. Like, you want your loved ones to be saved so that they don't have to suffer the wrath of the aftermath of the rapture.
Right. And I mean, to kind of piggyback off what Ronnie said, we want as many people to be saved as possible because we also don't know when it's going to happen. So it's like, okay, well, if you die tomorrow and you're saved, great, you go to heaven. If you don't die tomorrow, but if Jesus comes back tomorrow and you're saved, then great. If not, then, so it's kind of a win-win, regardless kind of thing.
So, do you believe in the theory that once you're saved, you stay saved forever? Or can you fall from grace?
Oh, boy. I have battled with this question, to be honest with you. Well, let me kind of go backward for a minute.
Okay.
Coming up, I guess the topic wasn't worded that way. So, as a kid, I guess I figured, once saved, always saved. And then maybe once I got into college, I kind of wondered, because college was really when I started like falling. I'll say this. I believe that once you are saved, you are covered by His grace. If you see, this kind of goes into like two different topics. Because coming up, you have the teaching of, you need to get saved, but if you do this, and that, then you're liable to go to hell. And nowadays, there are very few, but I would say, maybe a growing number of pastors that are teaching more about grace, which tends to contradict what, we may have grown up on. So, that also kind of contributes to my little mental struggle about this. But, I will say, if you get saved, you truly do believe, and you are striving to be as Christ-like as possible, then you don't really have any issues, because we all sin. There's a difference between, sinning and sinning and sinning and sinning and sinning, and the person that sins, repents and asks for forgiveness and moves on, trying to live the right way. Now, I do believe that a person can make a conscious decision that they don't want to follow Him anymore. I do believe that you can renounce your salvation. I don't think I personally know anybody that's done it. But, you can turn away. I don't know what the line is. I don't want to know what the line is by experience or anything. But I do believe you can renounce your salvation. Do I believe you can send your salvation away? Like I said, that's something I've kind of struggled with for a few years.
When you said that, I imagined God going, all right, you get 100 sin passes. After that, sorry, it's over.
Yeah, man, I would say if you're genuinely saved and you are genuinely, have the mentality that, oh, I'm covered under grace, I could just send my life away, then I guess I would question, did you really get saved?
I agree.
If that answers your question. I might have rambled a bit, but...
No, I think you did. I feel like you did. And what you might find interesting is I actually still pray to Jesus every night. And it's more so, I believe in Jesus. Jesus for me is the aspect of unconditional love. Because for someone to have sacrificed their life in a very painful way, mind you, so that you would be allowed to go in heaven, that's unconditional love. And I love that aspect. And because I still think, even as Wiccans or pagans, there are things that we can do that are wrong, and it's good to like ask for forgiveness for it. Because I'm not perfect. Sometimes I might have gotten an attitude with someone and I should not have gotten an attitude with that person. I need to pray about that and be like, listen, I need to be better. Please forgive me for being like raw at the moment.
You know, there are actually Christian witches. There are people that see Jesus and the Virgin Mary as their God
and goddess.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like speak against Catholicism at all, but I do feel like you're deitizing
the Virgin Mary.
Yeah. And the Bible's kind of made it clear that she was just immortal. She was just the vessel for Christ to come into this world.
Well, you have to think, too, that Catholicism came about because the Romans came in and were like, hey, these pagans over here, they like to have a god and goddess. We need to kind of make this ceremony sort of how they want it to be so that we can convert them and convince them their way is wrong. So aspects were kind of taken in that way.
Mm-hmm. But
the crazy thing, and hope nobody hates me for saying this, but real Christians don't include Catholicism in the realm of Christianity. And I know that sounds really weird to say, but
I see where you're coming from, though. I really do. No, because Catholicism, like, most Christians consider Catholicism like the gateway towards paganism. I've heard that said.
It is. What they do is very ritual. Like, you know, you have to bow and do this so many times, drink this, speak Latin, all this other stuff.
Well, because when I came out to some friends about me being pagan, one was considered himself Christian. He's like, well, why don't you just convert to Catholicism if that's what you want? And I was just like, 'cause that's not what I want.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't feel like I've really not met very many people that are Catholic.
I've met quite a few.
I don't really feel like I'm at a place where I could speak much on that, but I know history of things, like, so.
I will say young Catholics, or Catholics around my age, it's very interesting, because they don't seem very religious to me. It's more so and I'm not saying this about every Catholic, I'm just talking about the ones that I've met. It's more so, they consider themselves Catholic when it comes to rules, like not using birth control, confession, stuff like that. But other than that, they just do what they want.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how several, not even just Catholicism, because I think there's kind of, in the realm of Judaism, there's things like that too. Mm-hmm. I mean, because technically Jewish men have to follow a lot more rules than Jewish women about some things.
But they don't. Some of them.
Not all the time, no. Well, I think that it's kind of, you get into the realm of...
Well, there's like Jewish, the descent, versus Jewish
the religion.
Yes.
And for that there is a fine line between that,
yeah.
I would say. Whereas with Christians, it varies much so we don't have I say we, like I'm still one. Christians don't have a specific race that they are. It's just, that is a belief system.
I will say, though, that there is kind of an idea, I feel like, that there are some people that they don't really believe it. You'll talk to somebody, like, about Christianity, and they're like, I'm not praying to Jesus all the time, all this other stuff, but then when you get to the rules and the morality, they're very Christian. You know, they're like, oh no, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, or whatever, but they don't go to church, you know.
Well, like, a lot of Republicans are like, and no offense against Republicans at all, but like there are a lot of Republicans who have Christian values and don't know why they have these values sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of just goes back to, oh, I was raised this way. Okay, we're raised this way. But do you really believe it? Did you really get saved? Or were you just raised this way?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Have you really read the word, or you're just going off of what everybody tells you out the word?
And I believe that with all religions, like if you're in a, like if you raise a child in a certain religion, unless I truly believe that, unless they truly believe it, it's just a practice for them. It's not a life choice that they made.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, yes, I was raised Christian, and for the longest part, I did. I just kind of did what I was supposed to do.
Well, I mean, it's a natural ingrained thing. Like, we have a weird thing. We've talked about it before, where, you know, like I was telling Ronnie that we've actually had people that have like messaged us or talked to us or been on our page that are like into Luciferianism, and although I get it, it would never be for me. So because I was like, I can't get the concept of my head out of my head, Lucifer, like even though it's been explained to me that they don't visualize him in the Christian sense. It's still
It's
my
ingrained
head.
in your system so much
Uh-huh.
that you're just going to feel a certain way about it. And
Yeah.
You can't help it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is with a lot of people. I feel a type of way about this because I've been raised to feel a type of way about this, and it's like,
Right. You never, got into it for yourself,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, that's what people do.
Well, I mean, not everybody can be this very independent thinker, you know.
Some are just sheep. What?
I'm not going to say sheep. I think that there are those of us that are more intellectual, like thinking it out, trying to figure out how it rationalizes for us, and then there are other people that just relate to what independent thinkers think.
I would just say it's healthy to question things.
It is healthy, but
And, like, not that you should question your core belief system. I mean, if you feel strong in it and you believe it, that's amazing.
I think there are some people that don't question it because they feel secure and stable in it. And if they feel secure and stable in it, who am I to tell them that they're wrong for feeling that way? I mean, I need to question it. I need to reason and rationalize. But there are people that don't. And I can't comprehend it in the sense that they do. But a lot of people, it's the feeling secure. It's not even so much a belief as the feeling stable and secure in the way it is. Like, it's a set of rules, and this is the way we do things. You know, it's like a person that really wants things to be organized. They might not actually figure out how to do it. They might go off of something someone else has done, but they do a really good job at organizing because they went off of what someone else has done.
And I would say, if anyone can take anything away from this video, it's that we've just had a very peaceful conversation about a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And not even like for religious views. I just want people to realize that you can have a difference in opinion and have a peaceful conversation about it. I feel like that's something this world needs so much right now. And I would just ask the viewers at home, all 14 of you, I don't know how many will watch this, but I mean, maybe 14 million, that would be awesome.
Hey, we have a new subscriber. Actually, we have like 5 new subscribers since I told you last. I'm sorry.
It's fine. But I really hope that people take away from this that you can have an educated, well-rounded discussion without jumping on each other's throats and giving a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think you're wrong for what you believe in. I appreciate your belief system, and I like that there's someone who has very convicted beliefs. Because there's a lot of people out there who come across very insincere about their beliefs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But I feel like, because our camera battery is dying, that this is a good time to just stop. And thank you so much, number 89, for participating in this wonderful video discussion.
You're so welcome.
And until next time, guys, this is Ronnie Moonborn.
And Severine.
And we wishing you guys a wonderful day. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All you young people with your social medias. And as always, guys, stay magical.